Bandwidth for First Updates Now is supported by the Blue Alliance. Keep up to date on all live and archived First Robotics events and team stats at thebluealliance.com. First Updates Now is brought to you by Twitch. Fun is now a Twitch partner and offering some awesome subscriber-only benefits. Subscribe today or get a free subscription each month when you have Amazon Prime by linking your account and clicking subscribe. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the second pilot episode of Let's Draw Robots. We're here to have some fun, kick back, relax, talk some robots, draw some cool stuff on screen, and we're excited to bring in a couple fabulous people to help make this happen here today. Please welcome Christine Attia from FRC 125, the Neutrons. She's going to be our artist today. Christine, thanks for showing us your telepresence face there through the camera. We appreciate that, but how's it going with you?
Pretty good. Excited to be back, and summer's coming to an end, and new season is right around the horizon, so I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about with that as well, so it's going to be cool to go through these drawings and talk about as well. And of course, we have Corey Walters from FRC 2767 Strike Force, St. Louis Champions, Festival Champions, winners. What do you call that? What does the award say for that, Corey?
It just says, 2017 First Class of Champions.
How do you feel about that, by the way?
Feels pretty good.
All right, man. So I like how you look down, by the way. I feel like you have the award right next to you, and you're just kind of verifying what that is.
No, it's not with me. I was looking at the drawing. I got the drawing next to me, and I was looking down at that.
Very cool. So, well, speaking about that, let's talk about today's drawing. I'm going to pretty much hop off here, and I'll jump in as needed, but we're going to let Christine talk about the drawing here, talk a bit with Corey about what's going on with some of these interesting items that she has on here as well. And then, of course, we have some cool things to talk about with Corey. If you'd like to ask Corey a question about Strike Force and their season or anything like that, make sure you tag at First Updates Now. And we do want to thank everybody who has subscribed to First Updates Now to keep us going. We've already got a few more already. We just got one there from Said1458. And yeah, thanks guys for keeping the program going. We're really excited to kick this off and keep on going here, Christine. So what do you got for us today on this drawing?
Yeah, so we have a nice mashup of some of the stuff that we've seen happen in the last few months since the official season ended. We have some of our all-star contestants that were in the Festival of Champions, 862 and 1011. We have our amazing Chairman's Award winners from this year, 2614 and 3132. We have you, Tyler, featured eating corn in your MC outfit from IRI.
It's corn. That's what it is, huh?
It is corn. It is delicious IRI corn. We have the item that went for probably the highest besides the team shirt quilt at IRI. This is 971's tube from their feeder. We have the beautiful Comic Sans Fuel Doesn't Matter, and two of the highest scores from the off-season. I know 195 and 1619 score there had a 5-point penalty added in, but either way, I mean, you can't deny the fact that both of these scores were just absolutely insane. And then, of course, the final score of Festival of Champions with 2767's Alliance with 103 pressure in there. So I'm excited to color this in tonight. We also have the new lottery system up in the corner. We'll see who's a lucky Powerball winner this year for registration.
Hey, Christine, real quick, I forgot to ask, can we give away this drawing that you're doing here, by the way?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And we do have another awesome giveaway later tonight that I'm sure everybody will want. So
I don't even know about it, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All right, so if you want to do that, by the way, just one last thing, make sure you either follow our channel or subscribe. And if you do subscribe, you get 5 times chance to win that. We'll give that away at the end of the show.
Awesome. So, Corey, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? We know that you're the coach on 2767. Why don't you tell us how you got involved in First and how your journey kind of got here?
How I got here. 2002, my brother joined the high school robotics team. I was in middle school at the time. And that was with Team 141 Wobot. So he was on their team in high school. I joined the team when I was in high school. I drove 2006, 2007, and 2008. Then I went to college at Northern Michigan University. My junior year up there, I helped start a team Team 3617 Cold Logic. And then, ironically, in 2012, we won the Niles district event with Strikeforce when I was with that team.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I knew the coaches, I knew the people that were on the team before I was even looking at being in that area. Graduated college, got a job in Kalamazoo where Strikeforce was. Still wanted to be in the program. Knew the players and the coaches that were on that team, and they kind of dragged me in. And now I've been with Strikeforce since 2014 and been the drive coach since 2014.
Awesome. So when you were in college,
I haven't drawn anything yet. It's empty.
what are you going to start with on this coloring page, Corey?
I don't know. I'll probably start with the robots in the top corner.
Nice. I'm starting with a banner over here.
So
when you were in college, what was like your involvement in first?
It was me and 4 freshmen and a senior and the shop teacher and Alec Hill, Aaron Hill's brother.
Oh, cool.
He was there that year. It was pretty much as much time as I could with the large, I was taking like 15 credits, had a job, spent a lot of late nights in the shop there.
Mm-hmm.
And the involvement, like I was the drive coach for the team. We had like no money because we were rookies. And we had like, what did we do? We took a street sign that we got from like the local city, and that was our belly pan for the robot.
Oh.
Like, no resources.
Oh, man.
But 2011, we won Livonia. 2012, we won Niles with Strikeforce and 2474 Excel. So we won banners both our years, so it wasn't like a competitive robot. I mean, it could drive, it could do some functions of the game, but it was your normal setup for first couple year team with no money. But they're still around. They're doing good.
That's awesome. So what was it like going from that experience to Strikeforce as a mentor?
Went from like a really like a hard resource team to all of a sudden a team that had like a huge sponsor with Stryker. So all of a sudden from like little resources to massive resources. And then it was huge. It's completely different. Like the resources we have is phenomenal with Stryker and what we're able to pull out and do with them. So it was a big difference. Like, I think first thing we did was get like a full-size field. First time I had a full-size field at our practice facility. So it was a huge change. Definitely different from what it was when I was in college. It was very similar to what I had in high school with 141 and Woolbot.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about what it's like to be on 2767. Like, what is your average season like? Like, what are you guys up to right now? And, what do you guys do in the fall that leads you up to such a successful season as a team?
So right now, we're trying to just relax because it was just like an extended season. Like, our season didn't end when everyone else got done with St. Louis because we needed to essentially get ready for FOC and get ready to play Houston. So like we continued to practice and continued to develop. We had emails between our alliances and what's going on, and it just kept going. But now that FOC is done, we're trying to clean our shop. It's a mess. But we're doing some welding. We're making a new battery cart that can hold 9 batteries. I had 4 senior members on the drive team that graduated.
Oh, wow.
So I got 4 spots to fill, and depending on what the game is, it may only be 3.
Mm-hmm.
We have programming going on. We're moving from C++ to Java this coming year. So doing that, doing development with Swerve Drive, things like that. Fun stuff. We have FTC starting up. We have 2 FTC teams that are going to meet. I'm going to show this match. I'm going to show finals too. So we have 2 FTC teams that are getting started. They meet twice a week, and then their season starts September 9. With us being a 4-H community team. We rely pretty heavily on our middle school FTC program to feed the FRC high school program.
So is it all middle school students, or any of your high school students involved with like mentoring or actually competing on your FTC teams?
The FTC in Michigan is strictly a middle school program only.
Okay.
So none of the high school members are actually members of the FTC team, but they do help with before the season starts, like they show them tools and safety and the equipment and what the robot is, and they help with team building activities. They help with the center of gravity and inertia and things like that. So I kind of help run a few classes for them.
That's really cool. So let's talk about Festival Champions, because this year was obviously the inaugural one, and you guys were one of the first teams to ever experience it. So what was it like for you and your team to go up to Manchester and, you know, experience that with all the other teams?
It was a really good experience. It was a really long drive too, and you know, I can't imagine California coming over there and doing it. But overall, it was a really good experience. You know, we got to go to DECA. Like they had that Luke Skywalker arm there.
Yeah.
So we got to like shake hands with that arm. Showed us that wheelchair that kind of goes upstairs, slingshot. We got to go to First HQ and kind of check out their main room. We did not get to go see where they're building the 2018 game.
Boo.
Yeah. And it was really weird. The weirdest thing is, like, at Worlds, you have that whole time building up to finals at Einstein. So everybody is like has played their game and knows what's going on. Whereas at FOC, you kind of just wake up Saturday morning and your first match is the real deal, and you better have your A game on.
Yeah, that must have been really weird.
So you just kind of come in rusty on what your strategy. I mean, we knew what the strategy was going to be, but you were rusty as far as like driving with 3 other robots on the other side of the field. Because on Friday we had 3 hours of practice to work stuff out. So everybody got their odd times dialed in. Everybody was tuning stuff in. And you'd run your match, right? You'd run your gears, you'd run your balls, but it's nothing if you don't have 3 robots on the other side. So then we had to go to Dean's house.
Was this your first time up in Manchester, or had you been to Dean's house for like kickoff or anything else?
That was my first time in Manchester for anything. First time in the state.
And
so it was really good, really cool area.
So what were your thoughts? Was it what you'd imagine it to be, like, oh, this is the home and like headquarters of First in, you know, I think it's kind of random. It's like, you know, this huge program with all these people from around the world, and then it's like, oh, just in this quaint little city in New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's all of a sudden there's this building, and it's like, this is First headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
I think this has to do with just the era that's on that side of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of brick buildings, the way things were built, and that time when America was developing over there. And they just kind of stick with that. But yeah, you'd expect First HQ to be this giant, like, glass building that you'd walk, you know, this is a brick building. Big things like 3 or 4 story brick building.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like, sometimes you forget that the headquarters is actually just like a pretty small group of people that are working out of this little like old mill, like running this program to cater to so many people. But I was lucky enough to go to Festival Champions. We brought some of our kids up. Our robot's actually hanging out in DECA until further notice, and we saw that. Awesome. Yeah. So we figured we'd leave that there because we're not really doing anything with it. But we got to go do a tour of DECA, and then we got to watch some of the matches. So I had been to the Granite State Regional there many, many times, like growing up. Like that was one of the kind of like premier events in New England. And to see it set up for Festival Champions, it was really cool because it was set up completely different from how they used to do the regional. I think they did a really good job putting on a really good show of the matches. Like it was even the FTC matches, which the game to me is kind of foreign. It was pretty good. And I think the people that they brought in from Twitch and from like the FTC and FRC community to commentate, they did a really good job. But those 5 matches for FRC were just absolutely unbelievable. Like we were all on our feet by the end of it. Like even the first match, like with the fuel, like on both sides, my mind was blown. It was absolutely awesome. So what were some like really cool, memorable moments for you personally, coaching those matches?
Winning like match 3 and not losing first out of 3. Like that would have been terrible if we go in and it got swept 0-3 right out of the start. So winning match 3, and just before match 3 started, so right after we lost match 2, one of the Cheesy Poofs drivers came to my operator, second driver, button monkey, whatever you want to call him, and said, "You know what this means, right?" And she responds, what does this mean?" And like, "This means this is gonna be the greatest comeback ever."
Oh man.
Yeah. So the swagger on the Poofs after that second match was like, "Okay, you guys still think we got it? We'll go get it."
Oh man, that's awesome.
One of the other things I want to talk about too is Lightning came in match 3 because Pioneers played match 1, match 2. Match 2, they had some wiring issues with their radio. Match 3, the plan was on Friday that A62 was going to play match 3 regardless of what happened in match 1 and match 2. Our whole alliance got here, everybody's going to play. So the whole game plan was for A62 to play match 3.
So I just want to jump in here real quick. So I just want to clarify that you're saying that, it had nothing to do with you guys being 0-2 with having the PASCAC in.
No,
so
regardless if we were 0-2 or the Pioneers radio problems, A62 was coming.
So what made you make that decision though? Like ahead of time? I mean, was it just truly we want everybody to play, or was there some thing saying, hey, we're just going to switch it up to hopefully change the strategy on them a bit? Can you talk about that a little bit?
It was truly let everybody play, because the way we went through Daly's field and on Einstein in St. Louis was everybody got A62 played rounds, 1676 played rounds, and they kind of came in and out throughout that day on Saturday at St. Louis. So like everybody contributed to be here. It wasn't this typical thing where you have 4 alliances and your captain, your first pick, and your second pick are the only ones that play all the way through. We had opportunities where the Pioneers got to play and A62 got to play. So everybody contributed to the win in St. Louis, and everybody had to pony up money and travel all the way out here to play in Festival of Champions. So it seemed only fair to have everybody play.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So leading up to Festival of Champions, because your alliance was so spread out, like how did that work when you guys were looking, at the Houston Alliance? Like, did you watch their matches from, their division and Einstein and Houston? Like, what types of strategy did you do remotely as an alliance?
I know us personally on Strike Force, we watched a lot of their matches, and we trying to figure out who they're going to play, and I know the Poofs, I'm sure, did the same thing. I'm sure everybody in our alliance scouted who we're up against. We had a lot of emails flying back and forth between us and our other 3 alliances as far as like updates on the robots, on what we've been working on. Things were changing. Like what opt-downs we've been developing, what changes have we been doing in the code and the robots. So, and the thing with Houston was because Houston only had 1 shooter with the gray bots, we knew they had to do something different. If they just kind of let us do our thing, it was going to be an uphill battle for them with 1 shooter against 2. So they get to develop a strategy on how to come after us, whereas what we had to do is we have to react to whatever they did. So we kind of had to wait to see what their plan was and then react to it, because if they let us run what we normally ran, it would have been tough with 1 shooter against 2.
Yeah, definitely. I know, watching that first match and seeing Crush come out and place 2 gears, I was on my feet just going nuts. So, I mean, yeah. I'm sure you guys kind of anticipated that, but it was pretty amazing to see how they kind of tried to adapt with that new strategy to play you guys.
Yeah, we knew they had to do, everybody knew, like, they got to do some kind of 2-gear auto, or our 2-gear auto would give us a 20-point advance. So we knew they had to do that. We did not expect Crush to be the ones to come over and play defense on the Poofs. but they did. We thought they'd send either the orangutans or the Columbus Space Program to come play defense on them or us. We did not expect Crush to come over and do it.
Hey,
And
Court,
they played really good defense on them. Yeah.
can we maybe talk about that a little bit? So you mentioned Columbus Space Program. We did not see them play at all. So is that on your guys' end from a St. Louis championship perspective coming in? Were you expecting to see Columbus Space Program play, or I don't want you to speak for Houston champions because you don't know and you don't represent them. But from your end, not seeing Columbus Space Program play, was that a surprise to you guys, or how did that change your strategy in Festival of Champions?
We thought we'd see them play just because they have more weight than what the orangutans could bring. Their robot weighed more. It was a bigger robot. They had a shifting gearbox with Coulson wheels on it. It just seemed like if they were asked somebody to play defense, that those would be the ones that they'd send after. Now, Friday during practice, we know that the Space Columbus program had a gearbox issue, and we don't know to what extreme it was, whether it was like a whole gear broke out or how busted up the gearbox was, but that may have been a factor in them not playing is on drivetrain. And the other thing too is their team from Seattle didn't get to come. So they weren't on the winning alliance in Houston, so maybe they just felt like they had the gel with the orangutans and what's going on.
Well, and you mentioned you guys only had 3 hours of practice, right? So, I mean, really, they only had 3 hours of practice with Columbus Space Program. And if you mentioned that, if they did have an issue or something like that, objectively kind of taking it back and looking at that, I would say, that would be a big red flag to me if I was on the Houston Alliance saying, hey, they are having problems. We've never played with these guys before. That's a tough call to make, though. Either way, I think you go. That's a real tough call to make, especially when the Houston Alliance comes out 2-0. You think you're in pretty good shape there, right?
Yeah. And orangutans did good. I mean, they were fast. They were a fast little robot. They did their job running gears, but yeah, we just didn't. We thought for sure if they would have someone to come play defense, it was going to be them because they had a weight. They weighed more than the orangutans, but.
Yeah, I was impressed with the defense that 10-11 played, and even 862 once they were put in. They did a great job, putting on gears, but also keeping the other alliance kind of down there and pegging them. So
yeah, so coming out of IRI, our frame, the robot was pretty beat up after IRI, especially after that one of the quarterfinal matches. So our frame was bent in real bad. We took a 3,000-pound bottle jack and straightened the frame. Then we're pretty sure Crush bent the frame back during FOC, and they pierced the aluminum on our frame. So the robot's pretty beat up. So 10-11 was playing some solid defense, and in match 3 and in match 4, you'll see times when we are setting a pick for the poofs. We're holding Crush away from the poofs so the poofs can shoot. So we get our swerve drive, we get between them and the poofs, and we just kind of lock them out, box them out so the poofs can unload their balls.
Is that something you guys plan on like ahead of the match, or is that just something that you're just doing on the fly? I mean, you guys have such a versatile drivetrain with that amazing swerve drive that you guys have. So is that something where, you're like ahead of time, you're like, okay, we think this is going to happen. So if this happens, like kind of like a flow chart thing saying, then we're going to go do something like this.
Nope, it wasn't really something that we planned. We did it in our quarterfinals on daily when the Fighting Pie was trying to go after the poofs. We set a pick there also. So it's something we just kind of just did because all of a sudden we're in that position. We knew they had to protect them. That was not planned. It's just something that we put in and did it.
So we had a couple questions from our chat room come in just now. I'm wondering if you're okay answering those, and they'll be on the spot here. So we had Clint Ott asks, I'm going to read this verbatim. So, did y'all make any mechanical changes for IRI that you had rolled back for FOC?
No. No, there was no mechanical changes for IRI. There was programming changes that we did for IRI, and there was odd times we made for IRI that we tested thinking we could use them at FOC, but we didn't use one of them. We did have one that was strictly an FOC Auton, but we did not do any mechanical changes. We did increase the fire rate on our hopper. We ran it at 8 volts throughout the entire season. Then we finally had the competition robot to play with, and then we upped it to the 12 volts. So our fire rate increased between St. Louis and the off-season events.
All right, we got Skyhawk here, Sky from 876, wondering, did you play more reserved at IRI for Festival Champions? So did you kind of just take it easy because you have a big event coming up? Or actually, in the follow-on, is that your competition robot?
Yes, that was our competition robot.
Right.
Our practice robot died before St. Louis because we ran 775 pros. We couldn't run long practice matches, so before St. Louis, we put a lot of defense on it, and we killed the practice robot before St. Louis. So that was the real robot, and we did not hold back for IRI. We came to play. So
I'm gonna say you guys ended up in first.
Yes.
Place, so
Yeah, we came to play. The only thing we held back was one Auton that we built specifically for FOC.
And which one was that again?
So in match 1 and match 2, you see us place a gear on the retrieval side peg, and then we drive down the field, tripping both hoppers as we drive. The plan was when we got to the last hopper that we'd back into it, and the balls in that hopper would fill into our robot. And that would happen kind of during that transition period between Auton and Telly, because we'd hit it with like 1 second to go. That was something we held specifically for FOC, just because if if Houston saw it, they would be able to counter it with their own Auton.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense there. So, all right, next question we have from Meredith Novak from the new team Lights Out Come On, wondering if you guys use field-centric steering.
We do.
Can you explain what that is for the dummies like myself?
So if you look at like your traditional 6-wheel drive, 8-wheel drive machines, you have a front and back of the robot. So when you tell the robot to go forward, it always drives forward relative to the robot being forward. Field-centric drive is when my driver tells it to drive forward, it will always drive away from him. And when you pull down on the sticks, it'll always drive towards him regardless of the orientation of the robot. So essentially he can drive left, right, up and down on the field, and he also has what we call a yaw on the swerve drive on the robot. So he can rotate the machine while driving down the field. So we can drive in a straight line and rotate the robot 360 as we drive. And that's how you saw a lot of those like running back moves when people tried playing defense and us kind of like rolling off of them. That's him just pulling down on the joystick and then going right or left the yaw.
Well, what's it like to train somebody to get used to that? Because I really, if that's not something you come into that you're used to, you're really just kind of messing with your perception of how something works, right? And so, like, what's the training regimen for that?
During the off season of 2017, so last year, we had a swerve drive robot from previous years that we gave it a field centric. So he was practicing driving with a field centric robot before this game was ever released. And then before he was even allowed to drive this year's robot during the season, he wasn't allowed to drive it until we had field-centric drive on it. Because you don't want to give somebody a non-field-centric robot and then tell him to relearn what he's already been learning.
Makes a lot of sense. Christine, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I'm not sure if you know, but 125 for their swerve drive, what do they use?
we've never had a swerve drive in the last few years. I think they
Never
made
mind.
If we ever get to that point again, I'll answer that question.
I'm sorry. I thought you guys had one like a year or two ago. My apologies. Oh man, we had one more question before we move on here too. Wondering how the back Magic Power gear / ball intake packaged under a swerve drive works. That's from Alfred. That makes sense. I'm sorry.
How did we package the gear intake underneath with the swerve drive package?
Yep, I think that's right.
The swerve drive package was very vertical. We had rails on the left and right side of the robot, and the whole package was inside the bumper zone. So within those 6 inches that we had where we had to have bumpers, those 6 inches were swerve drive with the motors the azimuth. The biggest thing was like our azimuth motor was put in between. How do we do that? Our drive motor that drove the wheels, make it go forward and backwards, that belt went around the gearbox that did the azimuth. So everything just packages really tight inside of there. And then the gear mechanism that was underneath the robot that space was dedicated from the very beginning of the build season to be strictly for the gear mechanism. So the gear mechanism was the entire, whatever the 6 inches were, was swerve drive. Everything from 6 inches beyond for the center of the machine, if that makes sense, was for the gear intake. But not having to deal with sims helps. You don't have a huge motor. And we've been doing swerve drive since 2012. So
what was your design process like this year? Because obviously you guys hit the nail on the head with just about every kind of game challenge. Talk to us a little bit about what, once the game was released, what did your team do?
So Saturday's kickoff, right? And then the next day on Sunday, we do a thing where what we call is architecting the robot. So on Sunday, we set aside all the major goals that the robot needs to accomplish and what those components the very next day. So on that Sunday is kind of when everything starts going down the direction that we'd like. So the first thing we wanted to do was be able to get everything off the floor, gears and balls. Being able to filter those, you're not really caring if it was balls or gears, was huge because you put 600 balls on this FRC field, it's just like a big ball pit. We also knew that if we got gears on the ground, when we'd go to the retrieval zone, it'd be way faster for us to just drive through to pick up the gear than have to drive up to the station, wait for the gear to slide down, and then drive away. Swerve drive, as soon as the game was released on Saturday, it was like, yep, we're going to do a swerve drive. So we got that going right away. We knew we wanted to do a 50 ball capacity. The robot can probably hold between 55 to 60. And that just had to do with that Auton, because we knew the hoppers were 50 ball sizes, so we wanted to be able to hold 50 balls, whereas like the Cheez-It Boost could hold like 150, which is ridiculous amount of balls. And then probably the biggest trick for the gear intake was trying to figure out how to get the gear from the X-axis to the Y within that space. So we ended up doing that outside of the robot. So the gear would go outside of the frame perimeter, we'd clamp it, and then bring it from X to Y. The biggest component that kind of led our design after that Sunday was probably the hopper. On how do you get these balls in a single file after putting them in a big pile. And that led a lot of the design of the intake, that led a lot of the design of how we're going to shoot the balls, and that kind of driven everything outside of that, because that was the largest mechanism on the robot.
So speaking about intakes, we did have Alfred the follow-up question asking, how do you drive over the balls and the gears at the same time and how do you pick up the correct ones, or how is that determination made?
Magic. No, we have, so the balls were 5 inches in diameter. If you can get under the equator of the ball, you can pick it up. So we had a little slicer, I guess you'd say, or a triangle underneath there where it was under 5 inches. So it was under 2.5 inches, and the gear was only 2 inches thick. So because we could get under the equator of the ball, which was 2.5 inches, and the gear is only 2 inches, that allowed the balls to go up and the gear to slide underneath the splitter. So that's how that mechanism works. So balls came in, they shot up onto the conveyor belt system. If a gear came in, it would slide under all that and start getting eaten up by the intake mechanism.
Did you guys have any jamming issues with that throughout the season?
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit. How did you get over that? What happened?
So at our first event at St. Joe, the gear started to get scuffed up, and when we'd get a gear with a sharp edge on it, it would jam on the back end of the gear intake. And at that point, we didn't have a way of reversing it, so when that happened at St. Joe, we were just done. We couldn't do any more gears. So we fixed that Freeze Kentwood, and we were able to reverse the gear mechanism. We also, if we drove over a ball that was crushed or squished or decompressed under that 2.5 inches, it would go inside the gear intake. That would also destroy the gear intake. So that only happened like twice. And then one time, and I don't know how, and I've watched the match a lot, in the first finals on Daily when we started to play defense, we had a gear get inside of our ball intake. And we don't know how that happened. It just was on the floor, and then the robot came back over to our side of the field, and we're looking through the glass, and we see the bottom of the gear sticking vertical inside of the ball intake. No idea to this day how that happened, because that just geometry just shouldn't work that way. So that's the only time it jammed. But we had mechanisms in place to fix that, and if it did jam, we were able to unjam it. It just took us some time.
That's awesome. And that's like wide open to the public or any of your actual friends. So it's one of your Facebook pictures.
I think it is.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
I keep trying
Don't find it.
from the internet before the show's over tonight. Yep. Yeah, so that's the tube they put up at the IRI auction. The IRI auction got like slowly but surely like cooler and cooler as people were putting out more stuff. Like there were just like more random robot parts going out. Justin won the Barker Redback like bent panel. I was really happy to see that. Like I saw it, I was like, oh man, he needs that because he's such a fan of theirs and massive fan. Yeah, there was like a Palm Pilot still like wrapped in its case, and Andy Baker signed it. Not sure who won that. The IRI quilt, as always, was really cool. And then there were these little like wooden models of a bunch of different robots, like 254's 2014 robot, Chief Delphi from 2000, 1717, 148 from 2015. Like these awesome, just really simple figurines of like the robot frames that went for a good amount. So it's a good variety of stuff.
I was at IRI in 2008 when I was a senior in high school. It was pretty intense. We were excited to see the game get played on a very high level. There was a lot of shooters, a lot of good gear runners, and it just seemed like everybody at IRI was just going as fast as they can. No matter what they were doing on the field, the robots were going as fast as they could. So it was a very, as far as how has it changed from 2008 till now, or is like, how is it like having a high?
Yeah, and I just realized I was muted when I asked that question. But I asked, what is the difference between? I was muted to the chat. So what's the difference between 2008 IRI when you were a high school senior to nowadays being on Strike Force and being a coach even, right? That's a lot of different dynamics to that.
It was awesome. Like there's a lot of good teams, a lot of good shooters, a lot of good gear runners, and seeing any FRC game get played on a high level is just incredible to watch. Everybody's on their A game. Everybody knows the lingo, so you can short talk with everybody about what's going on, and everybody knows what they need to do. It was fantastic.
All right, we had Skyhawk ask about asking, especially in the late season, how Sazal repair, he put, Sazal repair changes get. Let me just read on here. So he's saying, what was your willingness to just rip apart and cut significant portions of the bot or take extreme measures? Like how did that work out late season for you guys? Were you're like, this is the bot, we're going with it, or were you jerry rigging some weird stuff on your robot later on?
It was pretty close to what we had at the St. Joseph event as far as what we had put on. There was things that broke. We didn't really jerry rig anything. We added some functionality with some sensors. We kind of changed how the hopper looked and how it fed off of the hoppers on the real field. But we didn't really jerry rig. The machine that we had was pretty much mechanically was sound after our first district event. We just weren't able to control everything on the robot yet.
That makes a lot of sense. So, and then we have Clint on asking again, saying he saw your white paper on the evolution of your swerve. So, what as we go into the 2018 season, I mean, what is next for your team? I'm sure it's obviously a lot to try to live up to, being world champions and festival champions, winners. But as your team looks to the future, what's the next step? What's the next progression for you guys?
We've got things in the works for the swerve drive.
Okay, tell us all of it.
I can't tell you all of it. We don't even know. Like, we tested things that aren't even working yet. So like, we're going to FOC. We took my parents' motor home when we drove out there, and on our ride there, we were playing with parts that we thought we could use for a swerve drive, like off-the-shelf components that we thought, oh, we could try this. We could totally put this on. This could work. This could do it. And we put it up to a 775 Pro, and we immediately lit it on fire. So, so we're still working on things. You guys will just have to wait.
That's what experimenting is for the postseason, right?
That's right. So, make it lighter, make it faster.
Christine, how about for you guys? I mean, 125 Neutrons, you guys were on Einstein this year as well. So what's the next step for you? I mean, other than festival champions and taking the world championship, what do you guys look at from a team? What's your next progression step on Neutrons?
So we were lucky enough to go to IRI this year. We took a pretty young group of kids with us, and they had an absolute blast. And I think being able to see robots up close, like Strike Force and other robots that we may not have seen at our own championship, it was kind of a big motivator for them. We came back from IRI, I got to go to Festival Champions, had a great time. We've been meeting kind of regularly throughout the season, working on a lot of non-technical stuff. We got to hang out with 3132 when they were up here for Festival Champions, and it was really, really cool to meet them. We went out to dinner with them and, kind of derped around, but also talked a lot about, our teams and how we can work together to make things better for the FIRST community. But we also found out recently that the entire Neutrons lab will be moving out of Northeastern to a new space in Boston. So we're not 100% sure what it's going to look like yet, but we're really excited. We currently work in a pretty small space in Northeastern with a lot of different College of Engineering groups. So this move is really going to allow us to expand, not only the amount of students that we bring in, but the amount of outreach that we can do in our community. And we'll be able to house all of our outreach programs that we already do, like FLL and FTC. So we're going from 700 square feet to 5,000 square feet. So we're really excited, a little overwhelmed, but mostly excited to see what the fall is going to look like for us before the next season.
So before we wrap up, we'll take a couple more questions here, guys. We're going to wrap up the show as Christine has starting to wrap up her drives here, drawing frantically now all of a sudden. So I'll kind of ask this around the table. Alfred asked this, and I'll have everybody do this. So in the modern era, what's your favorite robot? He's asking by year, but I'm going to kind of simplify this a little bit. So I'm going to define modern era heated as 2012 and newer. What's your favorite robot since 2012 that you've seen?
Man, 971's robot last year, the Transformer, that was incredible.
All right.
That was just a work of art, seeing that thing unfold and flip up, and it could shoot forward or it could shoot backwards.
It was just menacing looking too, wasn't it? I mean, you call it a Transformer, but like that thing just was badass.
It was a Decepticon. It was
big.
It was gonna get you.
Was it actually part of the Decepticon Alliance thing? Do you know? I don't know off the top of my head.
I have no. I know the Cheesy Poofs named their robots after Decepticons, and Symbotics names theirs after Autobots.
Yeah.
So
There's been other teams who've done it too, but yeah,
Yep.
but they're the leaders.
One's robot last year. Its name was Jeffrey after the giraffe from Toys R Us. Apparently, I found that out the other night. Super menacing.
How about you, Christine? What's your favorite bot other than 2016's or 971's 2016 robot?
Oh man. It was Kikamana from 2014, but then seeing Strike Force's robot up close at IRI like absolutely blew my mind. Like being able to see all the like the 3D printed parts and seeing how the shooter hood, like the whole unit moved. Like being able to like be in that pit for a good 15 minutes with the students explaining everything and like running it. Obviously, like I don't understand all the technical parts, but your robot was absolutely badass this year. But Kikamana in 2014, like seeing them glide around the field so fast and so elegantly was also up there. But then you guys came this year with your swerve drive and the shooting and the gears, so
It was complicated.
I want to bring up their bot here. So is it their 2014 robot?
yeah.
Let me see if
I
I
also
can
heard
get a
Drive
picture.
Coach pick it up with one arm at Champs. They were like running late for a match, and this guy just like one armed it, like hauled it onto the field. Yeah.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice big wide open robot there. Man.
Yeah.
All right, and nobody's asking me, so I don't want to say mine anyways because I can't think of one. Oh, a little spoiler there. So I mean, what pops in my head? 254's 2014 robot to me was absolutely incredible, and I think more than anything was, people say robot, but I have a moment with 254 that I got to see in person. It was the first year that I emceed IRI when the human player bounced the ball off the polycarb into the robot. Like to me, that was the coolest full robot working with humans thing I have ever seen in first, and that just absolutely blew me away. And it really just kind of opened my eyes. Like, hey man, this as much like I wasn't a huge fan of the 2014 game, but like that like sold me. And I'm just like right then and there, like that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my 15 or so years in first. To just see something like that.
There was something else they did this year that I don't know if a lot of people picked up on, and I couldn't tell you which qualification match it was. But their robot was able to climb that rope, and when they got to the top of the rope, their pilot could take the gear out of their robot while they hit the touchpad.
That's nuts.
All right, Christine, drawing. How we doing here? Wrapping up.
I mean, I think we're done. I think we're good. Look
So-
at you're all colored in. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah, that looks like something. No, super job there, Christina. This is really cool. Once again, guys, if you didn't download this, make sure you take a look. We have the link in chat. Otherwise, you can find it on Facebook. We'd love to see your drawings too. So go ahead and if you have done some of these, take a picture of it, scan it, and shoot it on over. Tag First Updates Now on Facebook or Twitter, and we'd love to show your drawing off to everybody so we can see how it is. And that includes yours, Corey. We expect a full drawing later from you.
Cool. It's partial. I mean, I've been filling some stuff in.
All right, let's see what you got so far. Hold up the camera.
I'm just kind of. We're gonna go.
There we go.
Start
Look
here.
at that.
Some Crush and Lightning and some festivals, and we got some corn.
Opposite way. Yeah.
This corner up here.
It's hard when it's mirrored. Yeah.
That's about
I
it.
like your colors on there, man. It's got like a cool like festive fall color thing going on there on the jackpot area.
This one festival. This one the jackpot is.
Yeah, there you
Powerball.
go. So, what are your thoughts on that, Corey? In regards to the jackpot registration drawings?
The previous system was stressful. We were there at 12 o'clock every day trying to get our events real quick. But I think it's a step in a direction. I kind of got to wait and see more details on how it's all going to work out. With being in the district events in Michigan, it's a little different animal than what others have to do with. We have like 20 some events.
So how do you see that impacting you guys? Because you're right, FIM is totally a different animal for you guys. So how do you find that impacting you possibly?
It impacts us because there's certain weeks that we like to compete, and there's certain weeks we don't. So it impacts us kind of when the events are and where they're at. So hopefully the events we want to go to fall into the weeks that we want to go to events. So we just don't want to be stuck and pigeonholed in the corner and forced to go somewhere or compete in a week we didn't want to compete.
So, the one thing you mentioned is in regards to on the, we'd all be at, 12 Eastern trying frantically to refresh our screens. The one thing that'll be nice not to have to worry about is not necessarily that, but we'll remember last year where we had to register a couple different times, right? Like it got messed up and then we had to redo it. That was last year. Was that last year or 2015?
That was last year.
Yeah. So, hopefully we don't have to worry about something like that anymore, right?
Hopefully. Hopefully the jackpot thing all works out and registration goes smooth.
How do you feel about not knowing what your number is? Are you okay with that? Does it not matter to you, or do you think that's really important to know that?
It sounded like in Frank's email that they're not going to generate the numbers until they pick what event you're going to. It sounded like it sounded like the way I read it was they don't even know what number you have until seconds before they select what event you go into. That's just the way I read it.
Yeah, I don't know what my interpretation of that is. I just kind of read it like, oh, you don't get to know. We're first just going to handle stuff in the background, sort of thing.
Yeah, but even after that, even when you go into your second event, even if you don't know in your first event, first registration where you're going to be, even in your second registration, to know where you land on the pecking order.
Is that process? I kind of asked this before. Is that process any different for FIM teams with their home district sort of thing?
It is so the way it traditionally was last year was you have a home event, you can go to it or not go to it. If you don't go to your home event, when it comes time to register for your second event, you have to register for 2 events the second time you register. So we, in the past, have opted out of the home event and we've gone to 2 other events other than our home event.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of, so I don't know if we have 2 balls in the second registration, if we have 2 slots going in when second round comes, or if our home event lands where we'd like it, if we go to that. So
yeah, be interesting to find out how it works out. We'd love to follow up with you after the registration process too, to see just how the process works. So either you'll be really happy, really mad. Either way, we just are more curious about the how the process worked for FIM teams in particular.
Yeah, we operate in a different world.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys, last year you had as many events as many states combined. So it's definitely a whole different animal and monster in FIM. And you guys just keep on growing, though. It's incredible to see.
It's huge. It's like trying to scout in the state is nuts. Just insane.
So, hey, we'll have to get you on another time. We're running a little bit short on time here. I know we wanted to talk a little bit about the Sentinel interface board that you guys created and have at AndyMark currently. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yes. So the Sentinel interface board for the Talon SRX, we built that with Team 141 Wobot last summer. It is an interface board for the Talon SRX. It is very similar to the breakout board that normally comes with that. The things that we put on it, it's got larger soldering pads, which you can kind of see on the top there. So when you put your wires in, there's a retaining feature. You can solder in. You have these bigger pads on the, you can see it there next to that big hole in the top left. So there's big soldering pads to put on. There's an A and a B channel that's on the encoders. We have LEDs on that Sentinel. So if you just take that motor and spin it, you can very quickly troubleshoot if the encoder's working or not on the A or B channel. There's also places on there to put in limit switches and photo eyes and other fun items to put on that for the Talon to interact with. So it's just kind of our version of a breakout board that we put on SRX that is available at AndyMark. $18.
There you go. Yep, just $18 at AndyMark.com. Yep. Yeah. So do you guys use that as a fundraiser? How does that work between you guys and Wobot?
I don't know. It's not a fundraiser. We just kind of made it. We manufactured it. AndyMark distributes them, and we just kind of split the profits as it happens.
Apparently, we can't add 2,767 of these to the cart, unfortunately.
No, there's only 207 in stock.
207 in stock. So.
We watch it pretty closely.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So get them now, guys, because we're gonna sell them really quick here. So make sure you you go ahead and grab those as well. So,
Yep.
well, hey Corey, thank you so much for hopping on, drawing some robots, talking about Strike Force. We'd love to have you on again in the future, especially as we get closer to the kickoff in the season to kind of check in with you guys and see how Strike Force is doing.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And Christine, you mentioned you might have a couple giveaways for our fun-filled fans in the audience.
Yeah, definitely. So we have two tonight. We have my wonderful coloring sheet, but I also have one last I Tried My Best magnet that will be raffled off tonight. So one
What?
lucky winner. Yeah, before the next round comes in the mail. I do have one more to give away tonight. So one of these.
You're getting more though, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I was just going to buy it from you and then not let you give it away.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we can arrange that. We can rig this.
Yeah, I do run the contest. That's true. So, all
You
right.
can do a lottery. You know, let people know where they land. Like
Yes.
They're first.
Yeah, I'm going to assign everybody a random number.
That's actually what we're going to do. So let me bring up here for the giveaways and one moment.
It's double giveaway night here on
Double
First Up.
giveaway night.
It's
And
better
look,
than
I mean, and you guys have like the best chance to win right now because it's summer. So
Yeah.
yeah, no.
Is this like
no
a
reason.
daily double?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, give me just a moment here. So Christine, do you have a keyword that you'd like to give for that?
Do I need two keywords? Or
No, you can
one?
just do one. We can roll twice on it.
Okay. We'll just do. We'll do IRI corn.
IRI corn.
Yeah.
All right, give me just a moment. All right, so if you want to type IRI corn in chat and you get a chance to win both of these here, I'm just going to write this in chat so we have that. It's IRI corn. We're going to do one word, so just like that, just like how I put it there. So make sure you type that in. You do have to be either a fan of us, make sure you follow us, or you can subscribe and you get 5 times more chance to win as well. So Corey, before we head out here, man, we kind of asked you what the future of Strike Force is. How about yourself, man? I mean, it's summertime. You guys are kind of winding down a little bit. What do you do to get yourself back into the fray and get yourself totally back engaged and being on the team?
It never stopped. we just continued to meet. Like I said earlier, like we have FTC coming up, so I'm not the main coach for our FTC program, but I'm involved in kind of the development of it. So we got kickoff coming up there, so that's kind of like an appetizer coming into the 2018 season. We have WMRI coming up, West Michigan Robotics Invitational, October 28th. Yeah, October 28th, and then we should have our new drive team by then, all figured out. So we just got to get stuff in a row, get our off-season projects going.
Well, rock on, man. Yeah, lots going on with that, and it, like you said, it never ends. We all know that, right? That's just just the nature of the beast for all this as well. So, Christine, how about yourself? You got school coming up. You're a teacher, so school starting back up. What's it like to be on your? I would like to say posh vacation, but I know you've been so busy with wordplay all day and everything else going on. So, what's going on with you?
Yeah, so school starts for me next week, and we've been meeting on the Neutrons basically nonstop, but we're going to be starting, I think, 6 FTC teams in the fall, in the midst of moving our entire shop of 20 years worth of stuff. So that'll be fun to go through things and move, and then, we'll hop right into hosting our University Day seminars and then our kickoff, and then it'll be back into competition season, so should be good.
Do you want to talk about anything on your Etsy shop right now that you might want to kind of highlight?
Yeah, so actually starting tomorrow, probably Wednesday actually, I have large prints of both of the Houston and St. Louis champs drawings. I'm going to post some photos of those tomorrow probably. I just had to wait to get in my classroom to use an appropriate size paper cutter to not rip them, but I got some really nice prints made of both of the Alliance drawings because I think a lot of people wanted to get copies of it, and besides the digital copies, I wanted to make some hard copies, so those will be up. And then the I Tried My Best magnets will be coming in the next week or so, and those will be back up on the Etsy shop as well. So those were a surprisingly big hit. They sold out within like 12 hours of posting them. I was pretty shocked. And I did some Snapchat filters for a friend of mine who's getting married, who's an Any First volunteer, so that was pretty fun. They have like steampunk kind of themed into their wedding subtly, so
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do I get this cool custom Snapchat filter here? Can I actually get one? Can I get that one specifically just for myself? You know?
Yeah, sure. I can put like Tyler and
No, I want to say Samantha and Scott.
yeah.
All right,
Okay.
excellent, perfect. I'm in. Hold on, let me add this to cart here. All right, we'll take care of that in a little bit. So, absolutely fantastic. So let's do that during there. Clint Ott, by the way, thanks for your sub, buddy. Appreciate that. We'll do the drawing here and figure out who's going to win. There are not too many entries here, so you got a really good chance to win one of these two. Which one do you want to do first, Christine?
Let's do the drawing first.
Okay, so the drawing that you created here,
Yes.
is there a signature on it? Do we get to see a Christina Tia signature somewhere?
I'll do that right now.
All right.
Right next to the tube.
There we go. So, all right, we'll roll for that, and the winner of that's going to be Struck by the Bell. Gets to win that. Congratulations. Make sure you do shoot me a PM either on Twitch or Facebook, and that gets you the drawing that Christine just did there. And we'll do the other one here. Give me just a moment. And our buddy Sky is going to win the last magnet. So congratulations to him on that. Did he already buy one, by the way? That'd be really funny.
I don't think so.
Oh,
He just
okay.
said victory screech in the chat, so he's pretty pumped.
Wow, look at that. Bam. Oh, I thought he put it like right before he won. I'm like, that would have been the like most amazing thing ever. So so rigged on there. So guys, make sure you shoot me a PM, even if you don't mind, Sky as well. Just shoot me a PM with your mailing address too. Just so I have that as well. And Struck by the Bell, make sure you do that. But guys, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Christine and Corey, thank you so much once again for an amazing job. And Corey, love to have you on. Like I said, another show we'll bring on sometime during the 2018 season. Hope to have you there.
Absolutely. Give me a holler.
You got it, guys. All right, guys, have a great night. We'll see you next time on First Updates Now, where we are planning a recap show for the Chesney Champs on September 12th. So that will be our next show, September 12th at either 8 or 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you next time on First Updates Now, everybody. Talk to you then.